I'm going to tell you a little story about stolen valor, and I hope that you get something out of it in the line of how to spot and identify stolen valor. Like when someone's telling you a story, maybe you're hanging out with them and maybe you just met them, you're at church, you're at a bar, you're in a group, and you meet somebody and they're claiming all sorts of stuff. How to identify it. And then secondly, why people even do that, why they tell those stories, why they pose as a veteran that's got a bunch of combat experience or some crazy interesting story. So today I was getting a little bit of work done on one of my vehicles, and I'm talking to one of the guys there. He seems like a really cool guy, claims to be an Army veteran, supposedly done like 14 years of service. And then he lets me know that he finds out I'm a Marine, and he lets me know that one of his fellow employees was Force Recon in the United States Marine Corps. So my ears perk up and I'm looking at the guy, and my first thought is, I'm wondering, why are you working here changing oil? No offense to anybody that does that, but if you're Force Recon and you can push through all that adversity and you're the absolute best of the best, what is it that you're doing? Why are you making 17 bucks an hour or something? Why are you not running a small business? Why are you not excelling? Anyways, on and on. But anyway, I start talking to the guy, nice enough guy, and tells me that he was Force Recon in the Marine Corps, and goes on about traumatic brain injuries and things of that nature, getting shot at, shows me some areas on his body that supposedly he was shot and I'm not seeing a scar. And I immediately, my red flags go up. I've talked to a lot of people before, and I've actually had the wool pulled over my eyes before dealing with someone telling me stories like that. And you know, the truth always comes out. But what I started doing was asking him specifics. I asked him first, how long was boot camp? Every Marine knows boot camp's 13 weeks. He called it basic training. That was another cue to me that it was probably a fake story, because Marines go to boot camp. He said he thought it was 13 weeks long. And so right there, when you start delving into specifics, it throws their mind through a loop. I mean, it honestly throws off their OODA loop, where they have to reorient and adjust what they're thinking about and the story that they're telling, and they have to react to what you're doing. So asking questions about specifics really helps. And then I asked where he served. He couldn't tell me specifics on where he served. I asked him what rank he was in the Marine Corps, and he told me somewhere between a lance corporal and a sergeant, but he wasn't even exactly sure. So I was nice to the guy. I wasn't trying to get my brake lines cut going out of there, and I didn't want to call him out and get into a fight over the whole deal. So I just ended the conversation and walked away. And you know, in today's world, you never know what somebody's capable of, and I'm not trying to scrap with nobody over stolen valor. So you know, those are some of the things that I would recommend to do, is start really going into specifics. Where you served, what was happening at that time in the world, what dates you served. One of the other things that I thought was hilarious, and stolen valor people will usually go into boot camp or basic training type stories, because many of them did serve to some degree, and a lot of them ended up getting kicked out shortly after their boot camp or basic training. You know, and then they're trying to then just kind of like live on in this veteran mindset mentality. And I think it pumps up their ego. But he told me that he was selected for recon, Force Recon, in basic training, which is absolute horse crap. Nobody gets selected like that. So, you know, when you hear grandiose stories about someone being selected and their boot camp was different than everybody else's because they were so special, call BS on that. Why do they do it? They do it because they are not good enough in and of themselves. Their identity is found in a story that sounds good to them, and most other people bite off on it. You know, we live in a country where people really do respect veterans. Our nation does a great job at taking care of its veterans, and honestly, there's a lot of perks to being a veteran. You can great things can happen to you just because you're a veteran, and because there are good people in this country that will love you regardless of everything else because you served. And you know, I'm sure it makes for many a bought drink at a bar, or many a date for a lot of guys, because they have that story. But ultimately, they and many other people, completely aside from the whole stolen valor thing, many people are in an identity crisis. They are finding their identity in the story behind them, the occupation that they're fulfilling their life with, a diet, a workout program, a spouse, a date. They're finding their identity in all sorts of things like that. And that is what gives them purpose in life, is finding that identity in that thing at the time. And for a lot of guys, it's the stolen valor thing. And also for a lot of good guys on the other side of that are veterans and do have a legit story behind them, they still find their identity in what they did. And you know, it's not bad to cherish those things and talk about them, but that's not all of who you are. That's not everything about you. And you know, you lived the next day after that incident in whatever theater of operations you were in. And so ultimately my message is this: find your identity in something greater than yourself. And that something greater than yourself is someone named Jesus Christ. You find your identity in him. He will always fill you up. He will never let you down. You will never thirst again. You will drink from a well that will never dry up. And then you don't got to lie to kick it. See you next time. Day of Battle out. Subscribe.